Hello, everyone. Welcome to Twin Flame Interviews, episode 6. And today we've got my very great guest called Laura Roxanne. How you doing, Laura, today?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. You okay?
I am, and I'm really
Yeah.
excited today because you identify as the divine masculine in the Twin Flame journey,
Oh, yeah.
and I really wanted to speak to some divine masculines. And I'm interviewing someone else as well, and I'm just really excited because we started talking on TikTok a couple of months ago and you had so many questions. You were like confused, trying to get answers, and you were
Mhm.
really, really digging deep. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? And how should I basically ace this journey? And as a
Yeah.
divine feminine on the twin flame journey, like it's so refreshing to meet someone who's a divine masculine who wants to do the right thing and get it sorted.
Yes.
And you did not leave any stones unturned. You didn't waste any time and you wanted the answers. And another thing that I want to say is like, even like, for example, I was like this as well, like many months ago, where I was like frantic, confused, really, really like, figuring things out. And then you do calm down. And I see with you, you've calmed down, you're
Yeah.
centered.
A lot.
You've got your TikTok channel, which is Laura, and it's with a double A, and then it's ZAAA 333. And I'll put all the links in the description below. But the amazing thing
Yes.
is, you messaged on we're part of this WhatsApp group for twin flames that I added you on. But you told us the other day that you're in union and you're talking to your
Yeah.
twin again. And I'm just so happy to hear this. And
Thank you.
I'm very inspired and in awe, and I'm hoping this interview can inspire others who are on this journey. Is hard.
Oh gosh, it is so tricky, and you just don't know who to turn to. You don't know where to go, and you don't know what's going on. Your life just basically falls apart, and you just feel like, what is happening with me? Yes, I
And
agree.
I hope we can dispel some myths because a lot of twin flames, like the divine feminines, are angry at the masculines.
Mhm.
They hate them. They don't want anything to do with them. And then they're saying, why isn't the masculine changing? Why aren't they transforming? Why aren't they doing the
Yeah.
work? Why does it have to be me for? And it's just, and if you go and speak to like a regular person or a counselor, they think you're mad. They think you're
Yes,
mad.
that's true. That is true. However, I did have a counsellor that I've spoken to. That was after I realised I was on this journey, and she was actually very helpful as well. She was interested, and yeah, I found out a lot from her as well, even though she didn't know what the journey was, but she was listening to me, so that was very helpful. And I'm hoping I'll be able to shed some answers for divine feminines, why divine masculines act this way. Hopefully, yes,
Yes.
that'll be helpful.
And it's tips and tricks and any information. And I mean, you talk about this on your TikTok channel anyway, and I think
Yes.
it's so good. I haven't met that many divine masculines that are in a male body, which I'd like to speak to because I feel like for some reason I think that women, divine masculines, are more likely to speak up. Which
Yeah, definitely. I think
yeah,
so too. I think we should have some males as well speaking out. 100%.
right. So let's begin from the beginning.
Yeah.
So as a child, like for me as a child, I always believed in this like fairy tale romance that was like, like soulmates, you can say. And I always believed, and every person I dated, I just knew they were hitting the mark. Now, and also I was a very like spiritual child as well. Now,
Yeah.
how was Laura as a child?
Yeah, so similar actually. I've always wanted as a little girl, I've always watched, like romance on holidays basically, movies, and I was just sat there just hoping that's going to be me one day. Like I'm going to meet the love of my life on holiday. And
Oh,
little did I know. Little did I know. But yes, this was exactly me. I wouldn't say I was a spiritual though, but I did believe there is something out there, if that makes sense, but I didn't know what.
and what's interesting is that your twin flame, your divine feminine, who is in a male body, you met him on holiday, right? You met
Yes.
he's from Spain.
Thing, that's right, yes. Met
So
on a holiday, and it was just my life changed completely ever since we met.
how old were you and what
So,
happened?
I believe I was 21 at that point, and I was on a holiday with my friends, and I had a boyfriend as well, actually, then. So I wasn't looking for anybody, nothing at all. I actually don't know how this journey started when I was in a relationship with someone I thought, I was actually the guy I was with at that point. He was such a sweetheart. There was nothing wrong with him. He was such a nice guy. So I was so confused later on. But so we met in a kebab shop actually. He walked in
Where was
and I
this? Which
was I was
country?
oh sorry, do you mind repeating?
Where did you meet him? What country was it?
Mallorca.
So in Spain, right? Mallorca in Spain.
Same here. You're right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. So I was ordering a kebab. He walked in, and he did seem a bit familiar. But again, I thought to myself, I see probably a lot of people who look familiar. So I didn't really click onto anything at that point. But he looked quite familiar, if that makes sense. Like someone I might have met before.
Were you
But then I
did
wasn't
you
sure.
were you attracted to him or anyway or
Um, I think I was in a way, but then I was pushing that thought away from me because he was younger than me. So I was like, there's no chance, no chance. So when he walked in, it was like, wow, like this with him. He was standing there. He could not stop staring me out. And it was just like for me, it was very creepy. I got very creeped out. I was like, why is this guy staring me out and why his friends are talking to me? The funniest thing is that I don't speak Spanish and he doesn't speak English. So his friends were actually translating everything for us. And yeah, it was very weird. um, I remember I went back to the nightclub and he followed me in. Then I went out, he followed me out, and he kept on following me around everywhere. And I was scared. I was actually scared. But going back to why I was scared, it was just because funny. This journey is designed very funny actually. So before I met my twin flame, I met somebody who I shared similar experience with in Spain, in Mallorca as well, and it was exactly the similar experience that I shared with
on
my
the
twin flame.
same holiday or a previous holiday?
Previous holiday. So back in 2017, I met this person who I literally went to the beach with, just like I did with my twin flame. He tried kissing me, I pushed him off me. It was exactly the same similar experience that I had 2 years later when I actually met the real twin flame. And it was
What was the difference between the first one and then the real twin flame?
so with the first one, um, he basically, once I rejected him, I haven't heard from him since. Like he just disappeared
So do
from
you
my
think
life.
he was like some people call them false twin flames or soulmates or
Yeah.
karmics or catalysts? What did you think he was?
At that point, I wasn't as spiritual, so I just thought he was not a nice person, let's say. But then again, I was the one who wouldn't kiss him. But he also, my cousin went on holiday in 2017. That was with the fake one. She went on a holiday with me, and she really liked that guy. So I just thought I can't,
So
obviously my cousin.
what do you call like if we were to call him anything, what would you call him that first one?
Um,
Do you
First one.
but do you believe he
I'm not
was
sure.
like was he like a twin flame or he wasn't the real.
No, I don't think he was the real because I don't think of him if that makes sense. Like I haven't given him a thought up until recently when I've spoken to my real twin flame and I told him about exactly similar situation that happened with someone else 2 years before I met him.
Yeah,
So yeah.
but okay, so but the thing is with the first one you didn't even take it any step further. He was just following you around, I guess, right?
So the first one actually, yeah. So he was following other girls around, and then I was following him around. And then once I stepped back from him because I thought, okay, he's got so many girls, step back from him. That's when he started following me, and yeah. So this is how it happened. But then once we went to the beach, we talked. He tried kissing me. I pushed him off me. He disappeared, and yeah, he
Okay,
was nowhere to be found
right.
again.
So it could be more of an infatuation. Okay, so let's move on to the twin flame. So
hmm
you bumped into him in the kebab shop,
Yeah.
and he followed you around to the club and everywhere else, and then like you thought he was a creep. Like you obviously had
Mm,
a boyfriend, you were happy, but then you
yeah.
got this like familiarity, something weird. Then what happened?
So then he found me on social media and
Whilst
it
you were
was
still
very
whilst you were still
Yeah.
on holiday?
Yeah, so I didn't tell him my initial nothing at all for my social media. He just found me on social media and messaged me. And for me, I was a bit, because he was younger, I was just sat there thinking, why is this guy messaging me? And me and my friend were actually laughing at him because we thought that, oh, someone young fell in love with me. That's what I thought, and he can't stop following me. He found me on social media. Like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So me and my friend were actually taking the mick out of him, let's
Yeah,
say.
I mean,
Um,
how old was he? 18 or 16 or
17 at that
17?
point.
Okay.
Gosh, yeah, so he was very young. And for me, it was like, no, just no. So
But
nothing at
twin
all I
flames
wanted to do with
can
him.
have like age gaps, right? It happens with twin flames. Some have like
Yeah.
20 years age gaps, right? With my one, it
Yeah.
was an 8-year age gap, but for you, it was only a 4-year age gap. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So he found you on social media, he started messaging you, and you thought, what the hell? And then what happened?
So then, you know, previous experience with being in Spain and getting to know Spanish men, I thought that they only wanted one thing. So for me, it was always a no when it came to no racism, nothing at all. It was just my beliefs because what I've experienced.
They can be quite
Okay.
forward. Like my first boyfriend was Spanish, and
Yeah.
they they pursue you. They really do.
That's right. Yeah. So for me, it was like it happened to me before with previous Spanish men. So I thought this one is probably doing exactly the same to me. But once I actually decided to reply to him, I don't know why, but I was sat in the pub with my friends then at that point, and obviously I had a few drinks, and then me and my friend started talking about him again. I was like, "Oh, shall I message him back?" And my friend was like, "Yeah, ask him to come out. Ask him to come out." I was like, "Okay then." So me just having a laugh, I was like, "Oh, do you want to come out to the pub, mate?" But he didn't actually reply until the next day then. And when he replied, we just started talking, and like you said, he wasn't actually pressuring me into anything. He was just having a general, normal conversation. So for
Wait,
me, it was something weird.
how were you able to talk because you don't speak English, right? So he was translating on the Instagram or what?
Yeah, so he was translating Spanish to English to message me, and I was replying in English at that point. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it was very strange because, like I said, previous Spanish men, in my experience, would just sort of try flirting with me, trying to get me
Yeah, one
to come
sided.
places with them. Yeah, but with him, it was different. He actually
Okay.
didn't pressure me into anything. So for me, it was like, oh, okay, that's a bit different to what I
But
know.
deep down, you always knew that your man was going to be, you're going to meet him on a holiday, right? With my one, like I always knew that my partner, my one's from Italy. I always knew my guy was from the Mediterranean. I just always knew it's going to be a white guy from the Mediterranean. That's where he was. I just knew it. I don't know. So you always
Yeah.
knew holiday was the way.
So I thought, yeah, so for me, obviously, I didn't believe in any true love, nothing at all. So I was always thinking that in order to love someone, you need to give, and then give. But it's actually not like that with true love. It's what I've realized with my family and everything recently as well. So I've realized it all, and I was like, this was not true love. But yeah, um, exactly. That's absolutely right. I thought, okay, I want that true love to be from a different country because that's what I've been dreaming for as a girl. But I didn't believe it was actually going to happen. If that makes sense. Yeah, it was
It's
very strange.
interesting because a lot of twin flames have recollections or ideas of where they're going to meet their twin. Like that's quite a common thing. And also
Ah,
like knowing what like maybe ethnicity or background or area of the world or this they date people who remind them like you met one 2 years before. There's something always like something that takes you. It's like it's
yeah.
pre-built. Like I don't know. So he's Instagramming you, and then do you meet up?
Yeah, so at that point, I knew that he was different to every other, person that I've met on a holiday. And I didn't still think of him as in like this is the love of my life or anything like that at all. I just wanted to get to know him because I thought he was quite interesting, but not in that way, if that makes sense. I didn't think of him as in like oh, I really like this guy. I need to go and meet him, get to know him, kiss him, never ever. Because with me in my head, there was still the age gap. I had a boyfriend who I was actually happy with, but I did wanted to get to know that person as in like just even as friends,
Yeah,
because he seemed very interesting to me. Yeah.
there was some connection pulling you together.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and then so you he asked you to meet him, or
Um, yeah, so he messaged me asking if I wanted to come to the beach with him. So at first I was a bit like, I don't know because I don't know what he's like. I don't want to get kidnapped. You just never know, right? In a foreign country. So I was like, I don't know if I want to go. But for some reason, my gut was telling me to go. So I was like, okay. I was like, well, I'll be at the beach. If you're there, that's fine. It's exactly what I always tell him till this day. If you're there, you're there. If you're not, that's fine. It's what I told him the first time I met him as well. So if you're there, you're there. If you're not there, fine. But
do you feel like,
obviously,
I don't know, I'm getting parallels, but do you feel like with twin flames, like we're very chilled? Like when I met my one, like I was like, if you want to stay the night, you can stay the night. If you don't want to stay the night, you can go.
yeah,
And it's very like non-controlling. Like it
yeah,
feel, yeah,
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 100%. It's what's happening with us now since we're in union as well. It's like there's no control. It's like if you want, you can, but if you don't, I'll be fine. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
fine.
So you met him on
Yeah.
the beach, and how did you communicate? What happened? Did you have any signs, any feelings, any like, oh my god, like did anything happen then or not?
So I didn't have any signs. I probably have been sent signs, but I was just so not awake to anything at all at that point. So I wasn't really looking for signs. Like nowadays, I see those signs because I know in my head that I'm on
Yeah,
this journey. But back in the day, there was no signs. However, when we met up, it just felt very comfortable. I felt very comfortable in his presence. Even if we weren't talking the same language, we just passing the phone over to each other, translating. It just felt very comfortable, and it was quite magical as well. I remember I ran into the ocean, and he followed me, and then I pushed him, and he pushed me, and it was just so funny. Um,
it's with twin flames, I find it's quite innocent and also childlike.
yeah, exactly. So it was a bit like, oh, that's quite funny. And he had a dog. He's got a dog. He's very connected to that dog, and I can see that I got a child. I'm very connected to my child, and he's very connected to his dog. I'm not comparing, of course, not comparing my child to a dog, but there
Yes,
is some
yeah. There's that
soul
companionship and love.
contact
Yeah,
there. Yeah. So, for example, he told me that his dog's got some condition that is genetic. And at the same time, I've found out that my son may have autism, so that's genetic as well. So it's like, do you get what I mean? It's very,
mirroring,
yeah,
mirroring.
it's so weird, but yeah, a lot of things he told me before I can't come to the UK because I wouldn't want to leave my dog for this long. And I said to him, well, I can't come to Mallorca because I can't leave my child for this long. So it's like this a lot of connections, if that makes sense, with us.
But that happened later because you don't have a child at the that first time you met
No, no,
him.
I didn't. No,
Yeah,
sorry. Yes, no, I
that's
didn't have a
okay.
child.
Because I also want to know. We'll come to the future and whether he speaks English now or you speak Spanish, but we'll get to that. So you're on the
Yeah.
beach. You're playing about, being childlike, innocent. With twin flames, also you feel very safe around them. I don't know if you felt
Yeah.
safe and
I actually, yeah. So when we met up, obviously I was scared that he would kidnap me or something. But then
yeah.
when I was around him, it didn't feel like it anymore. So that was a good feeling.
I always
Yes.
find out with my one, I feel like I can trust him with my life. Like I could just give you anything, and I know that it's safe because it's basically you in another body, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Exactly.
okay, then what happened after that one? The first time, was there anything exchanged? Did you hug each other?
So
Did you kiss
I
each
was,
other?
oh sorry, go on. So I was actually going back to the UK the next morning. So my flight was in about 6 hours then when we finished the evening. So we didn't do anything, like we didn't touch each other, nothing at all. We just didn't do anything with each other. It was just like a simple comfortable
Walk.
situation. Yeah, Paul, that's right. So when I was saying goodbye to him, obviously I had a partner. I think he I don't know if he would like me, my twin. I don't know if he would like me to speak about this, but I'll say this anyway because it may be helpful. He tried to kiss me and I pulled him away, like I pushed him away from me. I was like, no, I got a boyfriend. I was like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? I was like, you took it the wrong way. It's like, yeah, I can give you a hug. I gave him a hug then. But I was like, you took it the wrong way. I was like, I don't want anything like that with you. And he seemed very embarrassed, if that makes sense. I felt bad because he felt embarrassed. And for me, it was like, oh, that's, in my head, I was like, that's another probably Spanish person who wants to kiss me and that's it. That's how I felt. And I was like, I was right about him. So at that point, I was like, I was right about the fact that he just wants to kiss me and that's it. I was like, I knew it. So I went back to the hotel and I was like, probably not going to hear from him ever again because that happened to me 2 years ago, right? Similar situation. But he actually messaged me and he apologized for trying to kiss me. He said he didn't know why he done it, and asked me to come out on a walk with his dog. And I was like, I just came back to the hotel. Literally, I just left you. I was like, I'm sorry, but I got my flight in about, I think it was 6 or 4 hours even. So I was like, I can't, I'm flying back to the UK, so I need to get some sleep. And it ended there really. I went back to the UK, yeah. Um, and I thought he would stop messaging me because this is what I was used to previously. I was like, he would stop messaging me now. How long was I? He was actually still messaging me. But he wasn't flirting. He respected that I had a boyfriend, but it just seemed like he wanted to get to know me rather than flirt with me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he wasn't flirty. He was just trying to get to know me as a person. And I thought that was really nice of him, if that makes sense. 'Cause I never really had that previously with, people I met on holiday. So yeah,
So you came back to the UK. Obviously, you have a relationship.
yeah.
He's trying to talk to you in a very respectful way. You are you thinking anything about it now, or like when does the like what happened? Because you're 27 now. Is that correct?
25.
Sorry,
Yeah.
25. So 4 years have happened,
Yeah.
and you've now got into union. So it's taken 4 years, which is normal. 3 to 4 years is absolutely normal. Actually, it
Yeah.
is. It is. So tell me, how did you get from there to here? Like, what's gone on?
Oh gosh. So when obviously I came back to the UK, we still talked up until November 2019. It was on and off, but I didn't think anything of it. So I was not interested in that way in him.
So two
As I
years, you
thought.
just kept as friends for 2 years, yeah?
Yeah, so I was keeping it as friends and he was respecting that as well. So he wasn't crossing my boundaries, if that makes sense. He would sometimes make a joke, let's say, like, oh, why do you have a boyfriend? But like for me it was like, yeah, you're just having a laugh and you're just joking. That's what I thought. December 2019 came and
Did
I
you meet
was
him in 2017, was it?
so that was my that was
First
the
one.
situation before I met the real one, if
When
that
did you
makes
meet
sense.
the real one? 2000 and...
19
Okay, so, okay,
September.
September, so you carried on to...
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2019, obviously I was in a relationship. I was living with someone as well. And I thought I was happy. And for some reason I started being so detached from my partner, ex partner. I didn't understand. I was like, he's good looking, he's a nice person. Why am I so detached from him? I didn't understand. At that point, I wasn't actually talking to my twin flame. Excuse me. I wasn't actually talking to my twin flame. So, I wasn't even thinking about him. So that was a bit weird. January 2020 came and I had the weirdest dream about my twin flame that made me wake up and I would have him constantly in my head. And that was back in 2020. And I didn't
So
understand
that's
why
like
because
a year later then?
was that sorry?
Is that like a year later? 1 year later?
Um so December 2019 to January 2020, so like a month later, let's say. So like, New Year's, yeah. So from
But you met him
December
in
to
September,
January.
so October, November, December, 4 months later, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I woke up and I was like, why have I got this person on my mind? I was like, that's just not understandable because we would have stopped speaking in November 2019 at that point. So for me, it was a bit unexplainable why, because I haven't given him a thought really, throughout November, December, up until January. So I was like, what's happening? And I said to myself, if he messages me tonight, it's a sign. And he actually messaged me that evening as well. So I was like, oh my gosh. It's like, what's happening? I think that was the beginning of my awakening, but I still didn't know what was happening, if that makes sense. Um,
Did your twin flame know what was happening?
what's that? Sorry.
Did your twin flame know anything about what was happening?
So that's a funny story because he won't tell me anything until he sees me. So I can explain that next week more in details, but
Because
he won't tell me
you're
absolutely
flying
anything.
over next week, aren't you, to see him?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, but he won't tell me absolutely over messages. No chance I can get anything out of him. Unfortunately, I tried, but he just won't do it
Okay,
until he
that's
sees me.
fine. We respect that. So in January 2020, you started having dreams, and then he
Yes,
contacted you, but you were still in a relationship.
I was.
And
Yes.
then what happened after that?
Um, I was so detached from my ex-partner. He was a good person, so I thought I needed to let him go. But I didn't think it was for my twin flame. I didn't even know what twin flame was at that point. I didn't let him go for this other guy at all. I just thought I needed to let him go because I felt like there is more to something than what I know, if that makes sense. But I still couldn't put my finger on it.
It wasn't
So
working out, was it, with that person? So yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's right. So he was such a sweetheart. He was such a great guy as well. So I was so confused why I needed to let him go. But I just knew in my gut that I needed to let him go to be happy. And he actually is happy now, let's say. He really is happy now, so that's nice. But yeah, so I let him go and I was single. I was actually planning to go over to where my twin flame lives to work abroad to get to know him and get closer to him as well. I wanted to, at that point, I just wanted to get to know him and get closer because I felt like there is something there, but I still couldn't put my finger on it. So we talked on and off. We triggered each other really bad at that point because we didn't know we were twin flames or anything
How
about it.
how were you being triggered, and how was like he?
So I remember a few situations. So, for example, I said something to him, and he said to me, "Laura, we'll talk when you come to your senses." And for me, it was like, "Huh?" And I was like, "You don't even have the same sense of humor as me." I was thinking, I was like, "Well, you don't have the same sense of humor," and yeah, it would just set us off, really.
You know,
Those little situations.
people on the outside would think, "Oh, why are you getting so triggered?" But your twin flame with a soulmate. Oh, your video's gone off for a second.
Oh, there we go.
With your soulmate, like these things don't bother you as much, but with a twin flame, it cuts to the core.
Oh my gosh, yes, definitely. And I was, as a runner, I was still running into other people, and I would message him about running into other people and just telling him my stories that, oh, I just met up with this guy, or I went on a date with this guy, and I would do that to him. And I didn't realize that it would trigger him this much, if that makes sense. And
Because
he
I
would
think you were seeing him as a friend.
I seen him as a friend then still. I
Yeah.
knew there was something, but obviously I couldn't put my finger on it. So for me, he was just like a best friend sort of way.
Sometimes with twin
Um,
flames, like I felt a sibling energy. I also saw the past life. As soon as I saw him, the second I saw him, I was like, "Are you my sibling?" And you are the one, and I can see the past lives. Like for me as a divine feminine, like it was very, and I can understand that you were probably like just chatting to him about like, I'm having
yeah,
fun, I'm doing this. Like you didn't, you were very naive, let's say.
that's right. I had no idea that this would trigger him so much, and he would message me back saying, "Oh, I'm so much better than these other boys," and I would be like, okay, like, does he actually? Because I didn't know. I didn't know whether he liked me or if he didn't like me. And he was the same with me. Like, we just didn't know whether,
Because I think you
like,
were used to guys being really forward, and he was respecting you, wasn't he?
oh, he was very respectful. Yes, 100. He still is till this day. Actually, it's nice because yeah, he's great. But back in the day, yeah, it was very triggery because with me, I think I was running into other people to numb my feelings for him, even though I didn't even know I had those feelings for him. But my conscious mind knew, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like me in 3D, I didn't know that, but then my brain knew that I had feelings for him. Hence, I was sending him a lot of photos of other boys,
Oh
telling him
dear.
because I wanted him to be jealous from what I know now.
They talk about on this journey that it's the divine works through you, like you have no control, and like a lot of divine feminines curse their divine masculines for the triggers in the
Mhm.
beginning, and it seems to be this is what was going on with you. But
Yeah.
it's said that it's unconscious, like you don't realize what you're doing,
Yeah,
like you're being
exactly.
used by the divine powers that be to trigger him, to trigger your
Yeah.
divine feminine, and you, it's almost like you're oblivious to it. Did you feel like there was like a veil that stopped you from seeing the truth until recently?
I would say so, yeah, there really was. It wasn't the time for me to awaken properly, I don't think, back in the day. It was just not the time yet because I still had some contracts with other people to go through, I believe.
And your divine feminine had to do the chasing and then work on himself before you,
Yeah.
because it's only one can go through it at a time. Otherwise,
Mm.
yeah. Anyway, so you're sending all these pictures, and it makes me want to come and just like shake you. But I understand. I got it.
Yeah.
You weren't
I didn't
aware. You
realize.
were naive. You thought he was a
Yeah.
friend, and also like you were being used by the divine to trigger him. Yeah.
Basically, I suppose. Thanks, Divine. Yeah. But I would say so. Until June. So obviously COVID came. So I was meant to be flying out to Mallorca in May time, May 2020, and I was very excited because it wasn't just for him though. That's the thing, and I think that's another. You just can't think of it to be you. You need to go to see them, if that
You
makes
do it for
sense.
you.
Yes, I was actually flying out for myself because I was gonna go. He lives in about 3 hours away from Magaluf. I was gonna go Magaluf and just have the time of my life. I was planning what I was gonna be doing. Yeah, me being the person who's newly single wanted to obviously go and explore other people.
Have
So I was just
fun.
going. But
Have
then on
fun.
top, I also wanted to obviously get to know him. I was a very damaged person. Let's say, yeah,
So did you
very.
feel like he was very intense? Like, is that why you didn't want to go so quickly in with him? You wanted to get to know him slowly. Did you feel like he was intense?
So I felt like I didn't want to hurt him, if that makes sense. So I just knew it wasn't my time yet to.
But
I knew it.
you ended up
Yeah.
hurting him by doing whatever you were doing, but you didn't want to hurt him by being with him, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So he did actually ask me if I wanted to be his girlfriend at one point, and I was like, maybe when we see each other and we get to know each other more, maybe. But that was later on, if that makes sense. So when we were a bit older,
You
you know.
mentioned like you were you had all this like childhood stuff going on. Did you want to like generically, or like if divine masculines, do they have like a certain wounds that they go through? Like, is there anything there?
Yes, I've recently discovered after even talking with my family, it's just the cycles of the men that we go for in our family, for example. So yeah, there is a lot of generational stuff going on for masculine. I'm not sure if it's the same with feminines, but with us masculines, it's literally a lot of generational stuff going behind closed doors that we don't realize until when we are fully awake and in union as well. So I didn't realize much up
So
until when I got in union.
do you mean like ancestrally people chose the wrong person?
Yeah, so there's a lot. There was for me, for example, in my family, there was no emotional bond with people. It's more to do with like money.
Okay.
So like, yeah. So I know that
Status,
now.
again, 3D, isn't it? It's the status, the power, the security, the safety. How is it going to look as opposed to,
Yeah,
okay, all right.
that's
So
right.
lockdown happened. You were meant to go. I guess you didn't go then, right?
I didn't. Yeah. Then June time came, and this was the weirdest experience I have experienced as a masculine. June time came, and sorry, someone is. June time came, and my divine feminine got into a relationship with someone else, and he posted a story, and
In
with
20
me,
in 2020.
2020 June. And he posted a story about it, and I looked at the story. My heart broke into pieces, but I didn't know why, and I didn't even realize that my heart actually, up until recently, that my heart actually did break into pieces. I started crying to my mum, and my mum was like, "Well, you don't even know him." And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't know why I'm feeling this way." And I started crying, and to be fair, it was just very weird because, like I said, I only met this boy once, and we don't even talk as much. So why do I care? So for me, it was very unexplainable. Yeah.
So then that leaves us the last 3 years. What's gone what's gone on?
Gosh, so I I guess because he ran into someone, he's the leader in the connection, right? He ran into somebody, and later on, I found out he only done it because he just thought there's no chance with me because we couldn't see each other again. So he got a girlfriend because he couldn't see me again, and that made me run into someone else also who I thought I was very happy with. Yeah.
So you ended
Um.
up mirroring it. So when you say that he is the leader, you're talking about the fact that divine feminines are mostly the leader in the connection, and the
Yes.
journey, whatever the divine feminine does, the masculine follows. So if the divine
Yes.
feminine does the inner work and commits and dedicates and heals and stays like, not faithful, but like stays committed to the fact that you're going to get with your twin flame and that it's
Yes.
possible. I mean, I wear a ring. That's my commitment,
Oh, that's
but like
beautiful.
that sort of resilience and knowing helps to strengthen the relationship and drag the masculine along. But because he felt insecure, got with a soulmate that mirrored in you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yes, I was. We didn't really talk for 3 years. Then I think a lot changed in my life. I had a baby. I was engaged. I was meant to get married as well. But yeah, so we didn't talk up until probably sometime this year. When I had the biggest depression of my life, and I didn't understand what was going on. Um,
So
I
would
had
you
this.
say would you say that it was because your divine feminine perhaps had surrendered or started working on themselves, maybe?
That's a very good question. I'm not. I think so, but I'm not too sure what he's done actually to get me to get my life to just completely be destroyed. If that makes sense, I don't know what he's done.
Yeah.
I would have to talk to him about this. You like listen?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
generally what happens is the divine feminine gets their act together, starts doing the inner work, coming back to peace and love, surrendering totally, letting go, leaving it to the divine. And when they go to that stage of feeling really good, amazing, peaceful, tables switch, right? It flips,
Oh.
the script flips. I did it within a year, and then I flipped the script to my divine masculine who did a lot of crazy stuff. And now he's going through all the stuff that you went through at the beginning of this year.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's painful. It's just something that I don't wish upon anyone, but obviously it's for the growth process, so you gotta
They
go through
say
it.
they say the feminine goes through it longer, but not as intense, right? But for us,
Yeah,
horrific as well. But for the masculine, they go for it for a shorter period, but it's really intense. In the
yeah.
3D, it's really bad.
That's right. I thought I died about 100 times when I was going through it all, and I didn't know again what was happening at the very beginning. So for me, it was like everything that I once knew was falling apart. And why is this happening? Like, why? And on top of it, I had this person on my mind, obsessive thinking. I started seeing angel numbers. I started seeing people who look like him on videos. I started seeing the town that he lives in just popping up on the internet. And I was like, why is
Everywhere.
this happening? I had it blocked actually then as well. So, of course, we block them, don't we?
So for the feminines, I speak for myself. It's like that happens to us straight away. Soon as the divine masculine starts to like pull away in the beginning, like straight away we go through all the madness and obsession and seeing everything
Oh.
everywhere, and then we're looking at our divine masculine who's doing living their life, and we're like, don't you see it?
Oh, bless you. Oh.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
your life was falling apart, and then how did you realize what you realized? What happened?
So I had my twin blocked at that point, but because the signs and everything was so intense, I had to unblock him to actually ask him if he's experiencing exactly the same as me. Because at
Yeah.
first I thought he was literally doing some witchcraft on me. And I was like, I'm not having that. I was like, he needs to stop. And
What did he
I
say? Did he say he was having the same or no?
So he wouldn't tell me anything. Like I honestly don't know anything that's gone on with him because he's waiting until he sees me. So I don't know really. But what he said to me was that he's also been thinking about me. And what else? as he said. He's also been thinking about me and just trying to show me. He was like, "So what if this is happening to you? Then can you tell, or like, can you tell something is up?" Or he was just very trying to open my eyes, and for me, it was like, "What is he talking about?"
Okay, this is really interesting and really nice as well, actually, because there's that whole argument. So he obviously, I feel like he already knew. He's already gone through all that, and now he's flipped the script. He's understood it, the simulation game or whatever it is of twin flames, and now you're going for it. And he's like, oh, and he's not telling you. So the whole argument is: should you tell your twin flame that you're twin flames or not, or should you let them figure it out
Oh,
themselves?
so funny story actually. I was the one who told him we are on the twin flame journey. So he knew. So he knew there was a magnetic connection between us, but I don't think he knew the term twin flames. He never
Uh,
searched it up.
okay,
So once I realized I was on the journey or just something was up, so I searched it up. I did, and I sent him the article to read, and he read through it, and he was like, "Well, I don't know. It is a bit unexplainable," and that's all he said about it. But then he realized then later on a little bit that this is a genuine twin flame journey. Like, yeah, it's just no
okay.
doubts.
So you're going through all the Dark Nights of Souls, ego
Yes.
death, everything. You've unblocked him. You've spoken to him. You found out your twin flames. Then what?
So oh gosh, so then the triggering started again. I was obviously um so I only unblocked my twin flame just to check if everything that I've been experiencing he is also experiencing. I didn't want anything from him because like I said, I was happily engaged then. So I just needed to check whether he's throwing witchcraft on me or what he's doing. Why am I like this if I'm happily engaged? As I thought, so as we start talking, we just started talking as best friends again. So it was quite hard for me to stop talking to him at that point as well. And I knew I should have stopped talking to him and cut it because I was again happily engaged. But it was just so hard to stop because we were literally like the same sense of humor then at that point. Bit triggery, but it was just flowing, if that makes sense, the conversation. So I felt just couldn't cut it and I really wanted to do it, if that makes sense at that point. So it came to the point where we were talking and it was I just felt comfortable and I was so confused and I said to him, listen, I said, I don't want to mess with your head. I don't know what you're thinking here, but I can't do this, as in like feel so comfortable with you because it doesn't feel right on my other, on my partner. And I said, even if it's just friends or whatever, I just feel too comfortable with you to carry on talking to you. So I said, I can't do this. I said, I'm sorry. And yeah. And there was a few more things said, but I don't want to talk about those things because he
Yeah,
may
yeah,
not want me to, if
yeah,
that
yeah.
makes sense.
So then did you block him then, or what?
So my ex partner actually found out that we were talking, and he's always at that sort of thing for. Like he knew that there was always something. He even admitted not long ago to me
Yeah,
that he
yeah.
always knew there was something with me and that guy because we keep coming back together, and he couldn't
They
understand
feel
it.
it, the karmics, their soulmates, whoever's around, they can tell something's up. And some of them get threatened or they get even more possessive. Like I definitely know with
Yeah,
my one's got an ex that was just like not leaving him alone.
yeah,
And yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah.
And then
So
is that when you
yeah.
reached out to me? Is that about time when you reached out to me on TikTok and we started speaking?
So I was going through TikTok and I kept on seeing a lot of videos on twin flames. So I wanted to educate myself to just know what I'm on, like what I'm meant to be
What is
doing. And
it?
yes, I came across some of your videos which are very helpful as well. Um, and I think I reached out to you. I can't remember what my first message was, but probably the obsession with the twin flame. When I was
I'm
probably
gonna
obsessed.
be I'm gonna be very honest, but I'm gonna be honest in order to help our audience because I was in the same place. I was in the same place of almost mania and like gotta figure it out. What's going on?
Yeah.
And
Oh gosh. Yeah.
you were messaging me. Part of me was thinking, calm down, please calm down. And I'm so impressed because right now the person I see in front of me is well put together, calm, peaceful, knows her stuff. has everything. It just you did it so fast as well, and
Yeah.
it's really good because what it is it's some people don't move and then they just stay in the journey for years and years and years. Whereas you, as soon as you figured out, you didn't stop. You just went for it
Yeah.
and sorted it out. You know.
Um, I would say I done it. I didn't do it for him. I done it because I realized that there is something more to everything, and I realized that I was changing as a person, and I really liked the new person I was becoming. So I was looking within, and I really liked that. So I think this is why I push myself, because everything was happening, like magic was happening around me once I was following
So
what I'm meant to be following.
what were you like before, and how have you changed differently now?
So once obviously my life ruined, I was pushed to separate and everything from my old life. I went through a lot of bad things. So not bad, I wouldn't say. It was just something that I would never choose to do if I had to do it. So I had to live in a homeless shelter with my baby. So obviously I got a son now as well. Who's my soulmate, by the way? I figured it out.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so I had to live in a homeless shelter, then I had temporary accommodation, and then I actually got my own house up in the mountains now that I've always dreamt of. I've always wanted to have a house like this, and I got it. And I was like, this is how I started to realize, hang on, like magic, like I manifested
yeah.
that.
And that's what happens with twin flames, and people need to really understand this. As you ascend, as your vibration raises, twin flames become
Yeah.
really good at getting what they want because you get into that vibration of unconditional love, peace, and joy, enlightenment. Yeah, and then you just get it. And when you get into union with your twin flame, oh, you become like lots of
Yeah,
riches come to you.
amazing.
So,
You're just flying, on high vibrations, like, ooh, I'm a little bird, it's great, yeah. And you
but
don't even need them with you to do it, if that makes sense. Like, you don't need to be together to be feeling this way. That's what I
it's
want
very
to tell
important,
everyone as
even
well.
when you are together, to stay peaceful and balanced in the now, because otherwise the energies with twin flames are really high. They are
Hmm.
very high, and then the triggering and all that stuff, and you have to just bring to peace. Like to get into real harmonious union, it's about peace and now
Yeah.
and all that stuff. Anyway, so basically, the person that you were before, would you say that the person before was like more? I don't know. I'm just gonna say general stuff, and you can say yes or no because this is how like I see it in the journey, like more ego based, more 3D based, more like obligation, jealousy, perhaps codependent, needy type of people. That's usually what like people are before, and then they change as a twin flame and they become really self independent, full of love.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So, I'll talk about myself if that's okay with
Yes.
this. I
Yeah.
was very I had abandonment issues, and I figured it out why I had them from my childhood. I had rejection issues. I had them all. So from my family perspective, I never had a dad,
Yeah.
and I was always seeking from other men that love. And for me to get that love from someone, I had to give to them, and they would take, and maybe sometimes throw little some coin. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Crumbing you,
Yeah,
breadcrumbing you. So
basically, yeah.
what did you do to change that around? Like, did you do any healings or self love or self work or whatever? Like, what tips and tricks could you give to us? What you did because
So
you transformed very 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 rapidly.
yeah, so I would say I looked within at my childhood. I done that just to figure out why I've been so attached to other people before, why I didn't believe in myself. Is I just looked at all the situations that happened in my childhood and it all made sense why. So what I've done is basically I realized this is what happened, and I was like, do you know what? I'm so much better than that. And I kept on telling myself that. I was like, I'm so much better than that. It's like, why couldn't I see this before? So I was so much better than the way everyone treated me previously. And this is how I became, very like self confident as well. Because I would say I'm quite self confident now,
Yeah.
and I like it. And I became quite smart with everything, because I used to think when I was younger, I used to think I'm dumb. Like honestly, I didn't know my things. I thought I was dumb, but ever since I started seeing things differently, I feel like, wow, like I feel smart, if that makes sense, and I like to educate other people, but not pushing anything upon anyone, but maybe just
Sharing,
educating them a bit,
sharing.
and it feels great, you know?
I find like when the ego death happens, it sheds that illusion of fear or not good enough. Like it just strips away all the nonsense, the programs
Yeah.
that, and then you realize the purity within, like the soul is just so loving and pure and wonderful. Like, I don't know. For me, I had a something happen in October when I was on a cruise, spiritual cruise with Abraham Hicks, and transformed. All of a sudden, I went from being obsessed to like, oh, free, and I'm just always
Yes.
happy. It's wonderful, but it's challenging, you know.
It
And we
is.
do say if people are like suffering mental health, suicidal, please get the right support because it's not the ego death and stuff. It's not like just a depression. It's horrible. It's
It
really
is.
bad.
Oh yes, it's definitely the darkest times of my life when I was going through it, and I went through it 3 times, I think, as well. But first time was very intense, and then the other 2 times weren't as
It gets
intense, if that
better.
makes sense. So I knew what was going on. So I was like, right, let me cry it out, and then I'll be fine tomorrow. And it happened. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay, so you looked at all the childhood stuff. Are there any like tips that you could give to people watching today, whether they are, let's give, I would like, first of all, tips to divine masculines, and then I'll ask you later
Um,
about feminines. Yeah.
so tips to divine masculines, I would say if you're not happy in something, don't stay. Put yourself first. That's what I would say to divine masculines. Put yourself first because magic happens when you do that, and it really does. You
Thank
know
you. And
that.
what about for the feminines?
Woo, so divine feminines, I would say, please do not blame divine masculine because they are not aware of the connection at all. They don't know what's happening. Um, and usually I see, divine feminine saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go with a soulmate because my divine masculine is not doing work." And to be fair, they don't look within. That is actually them, not healing something within them for the divine masculine to actually heal. So
Okay.
it's like, how do you expect your divine masculine to heal if you're not looking within? That something is blocking you. This is why he is in a third party. Let's say third party, I found out, is usually the people pleaser one. So it's usually they stay in a third party because they are just scared of leaving the comfortable life. They're scared of what people would say. And that is the pleaser one within divine feminine. Um,
And then
is what I found out.
how do you overcome that?
Um, so with me, I don't really know what happened there, but the people pleaser one, it was just basically I said to myself, that's enough. I said, no one is putting my happiness before myself. It's
Yeah.
literally my happiness, no one else's. It's my life, it's my experience. But this is how I realized, and I stopped. I put up a lot of boundaries with a lot of people that I should have done ages ago, and a lot of people just, they're no longer in my life, and I'm so much happier. It's peaceful, and it's like I don't need those people anyway. So yeah,
So
so
what's
I
next for you? So you're going to Spain next week. What
yeah.
what what do you dream of? What hope do you have?
So I said basically he's always wanted me to come and see him, and I understand why. He's gone through a lot of stuff, and I've promised him to come like 4 times, and I never turned up. Does that make sense? So he's still waiting, which is nice. I said to him, I'm coming to Mallorca. If you're there, great. If you're not there, absolutely fine. I'll just go and do my own experience. What I'm hoping for is that he will be at the airport waiting for me. But
So
um,
does he speak English now, or do you speak about Spanish? Like what's
no, nothing at all really. But
it's all
it was
telepathic anyway. You don't even need language. We're twin flames. You don't even need to speak.
yeah, exactly. So I've always, I said to I've manifested that I before even that he's waiting for me at the airport. So if that's gonna happen, I don't know. My intuition is telling me yes, but you
So
know,
I've been to Rome 3 times now. First time I met him, obviously, which was for a holiday I was at. But the other 2 times, like I told him, and he never met me. And the last time the third time was in this summer, and I thought, I was like, hope he's at the airport, he's there with flowers or whatever, just there, just standing there. And he
Yeah.
wasn't, but there was a girl standing there and she had a t-shirt on. This is how crazy the signs are on this damn journey.
Oh.
And the t-shirt said, he will ignore you until he can't.
Wow. That's
That is
amazing.
crazy. It's crazy. The signs, like, I
Wow.
get signs that are so obvious that even if I didn't know what was going on, it dispels it. Like, I don't even have to, you have to decipher or try to figure it out. I don't have to. My signs are bang in the head, like smack bang,
That's
obvious.
amazing. Wow. That's actually so cool. Yeah, I know with the signs, it's crazy because I remember the other day I was walking and my twin flame's name starts with a J. So I was walking and there was a car registration and it said JJJ. I was like, I get it. And I get it. And I went back to like take a photo of it to send it to him, but the car was no longer there. And I was like, oh, okay.
I,
Maybe I'm not meant to.
I used to take pictures of everything, and I used to send it to him as well. I think it freaked him out. But I would ask the universe for some sign. I'd see his name everywhere, and then I'd see like, I love you, and everywhere, like number plates everywhere, kiss and hugs and babe, and then I started hearing all these songs. I am sorry. I'm gonna stop my ways. I'm here. All this stuff, like it's just
Yeah, it's
it almost
crazy.
becomes like a surreal like movie.
Can
Um,
I ask you as well? Have you had soulmates coming in and you just had to like be just like no focus but just set on the twin flame like no soulmates? Did you have that as well like
Yeah, so what
soulmates coming in?
happens is, especially with the divine feminine, as you start ascending and loving yourself so much, you become irresistible to the world.
Yeah.
And it's like, but not only just in a romantic setting, like people stare. People want to be near you,
Yeah.
people want to talk to you, your vibration, your energy. But often the divine masculine, energetically, I did a TikTok funny video about this, but energetically they block things, like they stop it from happening. Um,
Oh
so whether they
yes.
take, like, my one's really like obsessed with Beyonce, so like Beyonce will just take over and be on the radio for like 10 times, or the signs, because yeah, like anytime yeah, I'm not going to get into details because my twin flame, I know, watches my stuff, and I'm not divulging any information, so there you go.
Well, it's funny because I had a similar situation with him actually. It was like, with the triggering and everything. And I was like, do you know what? I met this guy and I thought I really liked him. That was not long ago before union. So I really liked this guy. I said, I'm going to go on a date with him. I was like, I really want to get to know him. Literally within 5 minutes of me deciding that I am going to get to know someone else, my twin flame comes back. He's like, hello, how are you? And I'm like, do you
Yeah.
have to? And then I asked him about it. He was like, yeah, you do exactly the same to me. It's like, I know a girl. And then you literally message me, you come back, you ask me how I am. And I'm like, oh my God.
It's physical or non-physical in any way, and it does happen, and they stop it, or you stop it because you're them and they're you, or whatever it is. It doesn't work out with other people, okay? Right. Anything, any last words, anything you want to encourage people, because people are like gonna watch, and
Yes.
what do you think? Anything.
I would say don't give up on your union, even if your masculine is being very, just not coming in the right way. Put up your boundaries, but trust me, you can tell from me now as a masculine, they will eventually. So you just have that belief. Just set your mind on I want to be with this person. There's no one else for me. And you will get to union then if you start looking within and doing all that work, It's yeah, it's beautiful. It's great. It just makes you think that this one person loves you so much. They're rejecting all the soulmates for you. They literally looking within, they're doing all the work because they just know their heart is set on you. And this is what your divine masculine will also realize once they are awake. And yeah, they will be very grateful for you. I am grateful for him, honestly. I wouldn't be here really.
With twin flame relationships, there's none of that codependency, that jealousy, the
Yeah,
obligation, the ego games, the
exactly.
madness, the you gotta make me feel this way, or you gotta buy me this, and whatever else, all
Yeah,
that. And you can trust them because they are you. And for me, I have zero chill. Like, I'm not a patient person, which is, it works well
yeah,
at times, because as soon as the get go, I figured out we are twin flames, and people were like, "You need to do the inner work." I was like, "I'm on it. Let's do it." I did every single thing. I did every single thing that I could possibly do, but I was doing it for him. And then I got your
Yeah.
mentality, and I changed. I did it for me. And when I started
Yeah.
doing it for me, then he changed.
That's right. It was the same with my twin flame. So when he realized he was doing all the work so he could see me again. So he was working on himself so he can see me again. And then it happened to me. So then I realized and I was doing all the work so I can see him again. And I told him that. And then once he realized that there is so much more to that than just seeing me, he actually started doing it for himself. And this is when I started doing it for myself. And that's how we got in union, I would say, as well. Yeah.
And when I first
Um,
read about this a year ago, that, oh, the twin flame journey, it's about ascension, it's about spirituality and about yourself and being happy and da da da. And I was like, no, I want this person, I want this person, ego,
yeah.
ego, ego. And I couldn't accept the fact that it's not about the other person. But
Yeah.
then I've got to this stage a year later, I'm like, actually, the fruits that you get from this journey far outweigh anything to do with a human being, like for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's what I
Anyway,
realized as well. Yeah, definitely.
we're so excited to hear what happens next. I'm so sure it's going to be great because it's in good hands, and you're really,
Oh, I
knowledgeable.
hope so.
And I'll put your links in, but it's Laura Zar 333. I'll put the links in. But thank you very
Lovely.
much for taking the time out and
Oh,
all your
sorry.
videos for us.
There we
But
go.
hopefully in the future, once your twin flame and you two are together in the same room, we could do a part two.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll keep you updated how it went.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.